Imagine a time long ago, between 1500 to 1000 BCE, in ancient Persia. Here, a prophet named Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra, founded a fascinating monotheistic religion called Zoroastrianism. This faith centers on one supreme deity, Ahura Mazda, which means Lord of Wisdom. Ahura Mazda is seen as the creator and sustainer of everything. Zoroastrianism encourages its followers to live by three core principles: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. It's also known as Mazda Yasna, which translates to devotion to Mazda, and Mazdaism. This religion evolved from the earlier polytheistic beliefs of ancient Persia, where Ahura Mazda was the chief god among many. Much like Zoroastrianism, the ancient Persian religion viewed life as a constant battle between light and darkness, good and evil. Zoroastrianism became the state religion of several powerful empires, including the Achaemenid Empire, the Parthian Empire, and it reached its peak under the Sassanian Empire. During the Sassanian era, a different branch of the faith, known as Zorvanism, also developed. This period marked the height of Zoroastrian influence. However, things changed dramatically after the Muslim Arab invasion in 651 CE. Zoroastrians faced persecution, their faith was suppressed, and many of their religious sites were destroyed or converted into mosques. Despite these challenges, Zoroastrianism survived and is still practiced today, albeit by a smaller number of followers. And the early Persians likely had a polytheistic belief system before they arrived in what is now Iran around the 3rd millennium BCE. Their religion was influenced by the Elamites and the people of Susiana, who were already settled in the region. They believed in many gods, with Ahura Mazda as the chief deity guiding and protecting humanity from dark forces led by the spirit deity Ahura Mazda. Humanity's purpose, according to this faith, was to follow Ahura Mazda's teachings and resist Ahura Mazda's temptations. The first humans, Mashya and Mashanag, lived in paradise until they were deceived by Ahura Mazda. Believing Ahura Mazda's lies, they doubted Ahura Mazda and were expelled from paradise, condemned to a world of hardship. But their descendants could still lead meaningful lives by staying loyal to Ahura Mazda. Without written scriptures, the specifics of early Zoroastrian rituals are unclear. However, later Zoroastrian texts provide some insights. There was a priestly class known as the Magi, and gods were worshipped at outdoor shrines called fire temples, where a sacred fire was always kept burning. Unlike the elaborate temples of Egypt or Mesopotamia, Zoroastrian worship was more about maintaining these sacred fires and less about grand structures. The clergy, including groups like the Karpins and the Kawis, played a significant role in society. They performed sacrifices, likely of food, grains, and valuable objects, in exchange for intercession with the gods. This practice made the priests some of the wealthiest and most powerful people in Persian society. And now let's talk about Zoroaster himself. Born to noble Persian parents, Porzespa and Dugdeva, Zoroaster grew up in a well-to-do family. His father was likely a priest, given that Zoroaster became one himself, and it was common for sons to follow in their father's footsteps. Zoroaster had 4 brothers, but not much else is known about his early life. By the age of 15, Zoroaster was already a priest, likely assisting an older clergyman. At 20, he left his family to pursue his religious career. One of the prevalent rituals at that time involved the Karpan priests performing animal sacrifices, which Zoroaster found deeply troubling. This revulsion would later shape his teachings. At 30, during a spring festival, possibly the New Year celebration known as Nowruz, Zoroaster had a profound vision by the riverbank. A celestial being named Vohu Maha appeared, sent by Ahura Mazda, and revealed a startling truth. The priests were worshipping false gods. There was only one true god, Ahura Mazda, who did not demand blood sacrifices but ethical behavior. This vision marked the beginning of Zoroaster's mission to spread this new revelation. However, his message was not welcomed. The priests rejected him, and his life was threatened, forcing him to flee. Despite these challenges, Zoroaster remained steadfast, constantly praying for guidance from Ahura Mazda. His prayers and questions were later compiled into the Zoroastrian scriptures, the Avesta. Zoroaster eventually reached the court of King Vishtaspa, where he engaged in a theological debate with the king's priests. Although he won the debate, his teachings threatened the established order, and he was imprisoned. While in jail, Zoroaster miraculously healed Vishtaspa's favorite horse, which convinced the king to release him and listen to his message again. Vishtaspa became Zoroaster's first convert, and as a king, his conversion led many others to follow suit. Zoroaster didn't write down his teachings, nor did his early followers. Instead, his words were memorized and passed down orally through rituals for generations until they were finally written down. By the time of the Achaemenid Empire, Zoroastrianism had spread widely, with the ruling class being Zoroastrians. Zoroaster continued preaching until his death at around 77, either from old age or, as later sources suggest, assassination by a priest of the old religion. And Zoroaster's new faith was built on the vision he received by the river and his continuous prayers. It rested on 5 key principles. The supreme God is Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is all good. His eternal opponent, Ahura Mazda, is all evil. Goodness is evident through good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, and each person has free will to choose between good and evil. In Zoroaster's view, Ahura Mazda was the uncreated, eternal, and only God. Other deities were merely spirits or emanations from Ahura Mazda. Popular gods like Mithra or Anahita were no longer seen as immortal, all-powerful beings, but could still be honored as representations of Ahura Mazda's benevolence. A question that arose was about the origin of Ahura Mazda and the existence of evil. The Avesta doesn't address this directly, likely assuming the audience already understood Ahura Mazda's origin. Later interpretations, like Zorvanism, suggested that Ahura Mazda and Ahura Mazda were equal in power and both created beings, but this dualism was rejected by traditional Zoroastrians. In the 19th century, German Orientalist Martin Hauck proposed that Ahura Mazda was not a true deity but an emanation from Ahura Mazda. According to Hauck, Ahura Mazda was a negative energy discharge from the creative act, gaining sentience but lacking real power. Thus, Ahura Mazda could only disrupt and distort Ahura Mazda's plan, with this disruption being perceived as evil. And let's dive into the concepts of life and the afterlife according to this ancient faith. At the heart of Zoroastrianism lies the principle of human free will. The idea is simple: if you follow the precepts of Ahura Mazda, you lead a fulfilling life. If you stray, you get caught up in deceit, confusion, and strife. Living according to Zoroaster's teachings involves embodying goodness through good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. This is expressed by always telling the truth, especially keeping promises, practicing charity towards everyone, particularly the less fortunate, showing love even to those who might not reciprocate, and practicing moderation in all things, including diet. While Zoroastrians did engage in conversion efforts after Zoroaster's initial mission, their faith spread more organically through the virtuous behavior of its adherents. They strived to make friends of enemies, turn the wicked righteous, and educate the ignorant. Living by these values not only ensured a good and productive life, but also promised rewards in the afterlife. In Zoroastrian belief, when a person is born, their higher spirit, or Fravashi, sends their soul, the Irvin, into the body to experience the material world and choose between good and evil. Upon death, the soul lingers on earth for 3 days, staying close to the corpse, while a dog is brought into the room to scare away evil spirits and protect the soul. During these 3 days, the gods evaluate the life of the deceased. After this period, the Irvin reunites with its Fravashi and travels to the Chinvid Bridge, the span between the living and the dead. There, 2 dogs guard the bridge, welcoming justified souls and rebuking the evil ones. The soul then meets Dana, the holy maiden, representing the conscience of the deceased. To a righteous soul, she appears as a beautiful maiden. To the wicked, an ugly old hag. Dana comforts the soul and leads it onto the bridge, which widens for the justified and narrows for the condemned. The angel Surush protects the soul from demonic attack and guides it to Rashnu, the righteous judge of the dead. Those whose good and bad deeds are equal go to Hamistaken, a purgatory-like place where they remain until the end of time and the day of resurrection. At that time, they will be reunited with Ahura Mazda. The righteous ascend to the house of song, a paradise, while the wicked are cast into the house of lies, a hell where they are tormented in darkness and feel a profound loneliness despite the presence of others. There are 4 levels of paradise, with the highest being the company of Ahura Mazda, and 4 levels of hell, with the lowest being complete darkness. However, even those in the lowest level of hell are not condemned eternally. Ahura Mazda, embodying ultimate goodness, would not let any of his creations suffer forever. In time, a Messiah called the Saoshyant, meaning one who brings benefit, will come. This figure will bring about the Frashokereti, or the end of time, when all souls will be reunited with Ahura Mazda in a joyful reunion, even those in the darkest hell. At this time, Angra Mainyu will be destroyed. Zoroastrians express their faith not just through daily actions but also through ritual worship known as the yasna. This service aims to bear witness to Asha, or truth and order, resist the lie, and strengthen believers' resolve to fight against the forces of darkness. The world, according to Zoroastrianism, is filled with unseen spirits, both good, the Ahuras, and evil, the Devas, and one must be vigilant, either taking precautions or listening carefully to these spirits. The Yasna encourages this awareness. Fire, a sacred element, always plays a central role in these rituals, symbolizing purity and the last element created by Ahura Mazda. Water, representing wisdom, is also crucial, and was among the first elements created. A fire is kept lit on an altar in a fire temple, and a priest recites sacred texts and offers prayers in the presence of this flame. At the end of the service, water is honored through the rite of Abzor, an offering meant to purify the world's waters and make amends for any harm done. Zoroastrian funeral services are conducted quietly and with moderation, avoiding excessive displays of grief. Death is viewed as a natural part of life. The corpse is cared for in the home, and the sagdid, or glance of the dog, is performed to scare away evil spirits and ensure the person is truly dead. Once this ritual is completed, the body is prepared and placed on structures known as towers of silence, exposed to the elements rather than buried, which was considered unhealthy. The bones, once picked clean by scavengers, are then interred. These rituals and beliefs are guided by Zoroastrian scriptures, customs, and traditions. Central texts include the Avesta, the Denkard, and the Bundahism. The Avesta contains the Gathas, 17 hymns attributed to Zoroaster himself, as well as the Yasna and Visparad, which are liturgical texts, written down during the reign of Shapur II and revised under Khosra I. These texts form the core of Zoroastrian scripture. The Vendidat, sometimes considered part of the Avesta, serves as the ecclesiastical code, while the Denkard is a collection of beliefs and customs, and the Bundahism addresses cosmology and cosmography. And the teachings of Zoroastrianism, encapsulated in its sacred texts, were originally transmitted orally for centuries before being written down. Despite the adoption of Zoroastrianism as the state religion by various Persian empires, including the powerful Sassanians, religious tolerance remained a cornerstone. This tolerance was particularly evident under the Sassanians, who even allowed the development of Zorvanism, an offshoot of Zoroastrianism that posited time as the supreme being, with Ahura Mazda and Angra Mainyu depicted as twin brothers of equal power. Zorvanism's fatalistic view clashed with Zoroastrianism's emphasis on free will, yet there was no evidence of widespread persecution of Zorvanites during this period. However, the landscape changed dramatically with the arrival of Christianity in the 4th century. Christians began to actively oppose Zoroastrianism, desecrating its sacred fires and denouncing it as a false religion. Despite lacking significant political power initially, Christians set the stage for more drastic measures later. The real blow came with the Muslim Arab invasion in the 7th century. Zoroastrian fire, temples, shrines, and libraries were systematically destroyed. Zoroastrians faced a stark choice: convert to Islam, flee their homes, or practice their faith in secret. This period marked a significant cultural loss, with many Zoroastrian texts and teachings potentially lost forever, including insights into the origin of evil. Despite these challenges, Zoroastrianism managed to survive. Many adherents fled to India, where they became known as the Parsis. In Iran itself, pockets of Zoroastrian communities kept the faith alive through centuries of adversity. Today, Zoroastrianism continues to be practiced around the world, albeit with a much smaller community compared to its ancient heyday. Interestingly, while early Christians and Muslims rejected and persecuted Zoroastrianism, the core concepts of the faith left a lasting impact on these and other monotheistic religions. Ideas such as individual responsibility for salvation, judgment after death, the concept of a Messiah, an end time, and a dualistic heaven and hell were all pioneered by Zoroaster centuries before they appeared in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Zoroastrianism, with its confident assertion of truth, never sought to silence other beliefs, a testament to its enduring influence and legacy.